And then we turn to the granddaddy of all tips, the absolute best tip that I can give you, the tip that puts every other tip to shame. Now you may be asking, Ray, how do I get good at this game? Ray, how do I push trophies up just a little bit faster? Now this tip is going to put it all into perspective. It's going to clear everything up. It's going to make it simple. And that tip is, you just got to stop losing. Oh, geez, Ray. Comedy just ain't your thing, man. What up, everybody? Hope you guys are having a great day today so far. Now guys, with all jokes aside, we're going to be getting into a serious tip video on how you guys can get a little bit better at Brawl Stars. So I feel like I've been getting a lot of comments recently asking me how to improve in this game, or I'm stuck at so-and-so trophy range. Can you give me tips in order to climb a little bit higher, or make that climb a little bit easier on yourself? So in today's video, it's going to be solely dedicated on giving you guys my best tips in order to improve your game and get a little bit better at Brawl Stars. So hopefully you guys are pumped up. Let's get right into it. Alright guys, so the way I want to organize this is jumping into about 7 different tips, 7 very important tips. So the first one that I want to cover is that we have certain controls over aspects in Brawl Stars. The 3 main important ones is the game mode that we play in, the team comp that we're running, and the communication that we're using in Brawl Stars. So the first one that I want to discuss is the game mode. So the beautiful thing about Brawl Stars is that we have the ability to select which game mode we want to push up our cups exclusively in. Now it's important that you're somewhat of a well-rounded brawler so you can play on all the game modes, but the state of Brawl Stars that we're in right now, we can just play in gem grab 24/7. We can play in gem grab as long as we want, or if you're a showdown guy, you can just play in showdown, push up your cups in showdown. So I'd highly recommend find a game mode that you're very good at and only push up your cups in that game mode, because you have the best chances to win and you feel comfortable in that game mode. So that's the first thing that we have control over, the game modes. So the second thing that we have control over is the team comp that we're running. So again, we're going to use gem grab as an example. So say you're jumping into a game with an unorganized team comp and you're going up against a team that has their team comp mapped out. They know what they're doing with their team comp. More often than not, they're going to beat your team comp that is unorganized. So what I recommend is play a few matches in gem grab. Find a team comp that's dominating in the current meta on the game mode that you want to grind up on. And the best way to do that is just to jump into a few games, and more often than not, you will come across the most popular comp that's being run in that game mode, and you might get dominated by it, but if you do, copy that comp and use it in your next game, and then just keep doing that. If you come across another team comp that absolutely wrecks the team comp that you just copied, copy them again, and then just practice with that comp and get very good. It's very easy to find the comp that is absolutely wrecking in the game mode that you want to push up on. Now the third thing that we have control over is communication in the game. What I mean by that is using a third-party app, whether it be Discord or Skype, so that you can communicate in-game with the team that you're playing with. Now, I cannot express how important this is. If you're in a rut and you're not using this, please try it out. More than likely, if you're a little bit higher in trophies and the higher up brawlers are just absolutely wrecking you, it's probably because they're using third-party apps to communicate in game. Think of it like this. If you're not using a third-party app, you can strategize as much as you want before the game. However, once you jump into that game mode, all communication is out the window. You are left to make decisions on your own that would best affect your team while you're in the game. So I highly recommend using communication with a third-party app. It's going to help you guys out a lot. Now, if you're using all 3 things, so you're jumping into a game mode you are good on, you're using a comp that dominates on that game mode, and you're using communication through a third-party app, you have a leg up against all those other people that are using less control than you. So that is tip number 1. Have as much control as you can before jumping into the game, so you give yourself the best opportunity possible to win that game. So jumping into the second one, I know the first tip was very long, but it's one of the most important ones. But nonetheless, the second tip is play with people you know in game. For a perfect example, you guys might be seeing in my videos a lot, I play with Brawlverse, a fellow YouTuber that's really good in the game. Now, I play with him a lot because I'm used to how he plays. It's very important to have some chemistry with the people that you're playing with, so you know how they play in game. Someone might be a little bit more aggressive than another person, and you can complement their playstyle by knowing what they're going to do next. So I highly recommend getting a group of people that you know, whether they be your friends or just people that you met through the game, and just play with them exclusively somewhat. You can play with other people and have fun with them. However, if you get that chemistry going with the people that you're playing with, you're going to have another leg up against the team that you're playing with as well, just because you know how they're going to play. So jumping into the third tip, and I feel like this one is one of the most important tips I can give you in this video, and that is playing with players that are a little bit better than you at Brawl Stars. Now, I feel like this gets a little bit of a negative connotation, being that you're getting carried by someone else. However, I think this is totally wrong, because if you're constantly playing with players that are better than you, you are forced to play play at their level. You start to adopt their strategy, you start to adopt how they play in game, and you become better because of them, because you're playing at their level. Now this one might be a little bit harder to practice because it might be a little bit harder to find people that are good in the game that will play with you. However, I highly recommend jumping on the Brawl Stars Discord server or the Nova Esports Discord server to find players that want to play. Every single day there's people saying, come on and join with me, play with me, and if you're playing with other people that are better than you, you can start to become as good as them. Also, if you're incredibly good at the game, make sure to share the love. Play with other players that might not be as good as you every now and again so that you can teach them to become better at the game as well. Also, you'll be creating that chemistry, add them on your friends list so that you can play with them more often, get that chemistry going so that you'll have that advantage in game as well. Next, jumping into the fourth tip, and I have definitely fallen victim to this, and that is play with brawlers that are good in the meta. Now, we all have favorite brawlers, whether they are good in the meta or they're not. Perfect example, I love Mortis. He's not crazy good, but he's fun to play with. Now, I've got sucked into this where I like playing with him, but I'm losing trophies. I feel like in Brawl Stars, it's all about taking 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 3 steps forward, 1 step back. That's the ideal situation. Now, if you're starting to take 2 steps back, 1 step forward, 2 steps back, 1 step forward, then you're doing something wrong, and that tends to happen if you're playing with brawlers that might not be that good in the current meta. You don't want to be stuck playing with the brawlers that aren't very good and you're trying to make them work on specific game modes. You want to use the brawlers that are absolutely dominating in the meta. For a perfect example, Poco, very good right now. He can play in multiple different game modes. He's the king of gem grab right now, so I would highly recommend push up Poco right now. Now, I feel like a lot of tips have been given that it's really important to keep your brawlers somewhat even, and I totally agree with this. However, it doesn't have to be within the same day. Say you grind out Poco, get him to 500, and your Primo's sitting at 300. You don't have to get that Primo up to where the Poco is at 500 trophies just that day. You can wait until balance change rolls around for the Primo to get maybe a little buff so that you can start to grind with him and then get him up. It's really important to focus on the brawlers that are good in the meta right now so that you can push them up exclusively, because once that balance change rolls around and they get a nerf, it's going to be much harder to push those brawlers, and then the brawlers that are not so good in the game are going to get that buff. Then you can push those brawlers and then you can keep them even that way. Alright guys, so moving on to the 5th tip, and this one is super important. If you guys are stuck in a rut, you can't get any higher, please ask yourself this question: are you jumping into it with randoms? If you are, there's your biggest problem. You need to make sure you're jumping into it with an organized team comp. The best way to do this is hop into a band or get on a Discord server like the Brawl Stars Discord server or Nova Esports to find an organized team comp where you can communicate and strategize initially before the game. If you're jumping into randoms, that is such a big problem, you guys. You need to make sure to stop doing that. The thing about randoms is you don't know what brawlers you're going to get. If we jump back to the very first tip that we mentioned, where the controls in the game, you are literally at 0. You don't have any control over the game at that point. You are at the bottom of the barrel. If someone is using all 3 of those controls, where they have the game mode that they like, they have a comp that's working well there, and they're using communication, you're going to get stomped. So maybe if you're jumping into randoms, that should be step number 1. Try to get an organized team comp, then move from there. You'll be getting trophies like it's nothing if you're starting to use a little bit more organization with your team comps. So moving on to the 6th tip, and that is paying attention to the minute details in Brawl Stars, the tech of Brawl Stars, which I love making videos on. I feel like it's very important. If you guys haven't picked up on my preaching of my tips, it's basically finding small things giving you a leg up. What can you do better going up against the other team? What advantage can you have against the team that you're going up against? Now, for some of these things, it takes a little bit of time to find them in the game. Now, YouTube is your best source of information for players that have been playing for a really long time. They pick up on some of these things and they can deliver that information to you. For a basic example of tech in game that will give you an advantage against the other players that you're playing with, say you're playing in Showdown. If you didn't notice, when a brawler is running, they leave footsteps behind them and they stay for a very long time. So if you're paying attention to the footsteps, maybe you can see a path going into a bush and you know that someone is camping there. So if you pay attention to small things like that, it can give you a little bit of an edge. And just brawler tech in general, I've made 2 videos on that, and that might be a good source of information just to give you a leg up on a specific brawler that you're playing with. But make sure to pay attention to the little things. It really helps. Alrighty guys, so the 7th and final tip we're going to be covering in today's video is identifying your playstyle. I feel like this one is very much overlooked. You guys may see me in my videos preach that I am a very passive player. I love to play the game very passively. Stay alive, help out your other teammates, and like that. Now, you may be the complete opposite of me. You may be an aggressive brawler. Now, if you can identify the way you like to play, either passive, aggressive, or kind of in the middle, make sure I identify that and play to the strengths of that. You can pick brawlers brawlers that will literally suit your playstyle. For a perfect example, me being a passive player, brawlers such as Mortis or Poco really work well with me because I love to play to their playstyle, such as Mortis in Showdown. Me running around trying to stay alive like crazy, people might be shooting at me, but I'm good at staying alive because I'm a passive player. Poco needs to stay alive in gem grab to heal up his teammates and assist his teammates in game. So if you can identify what type of playstyle you are, either aggressive, passive, or in the middle, pick a brawler that complements that playstyle and use them. Grind up your trophies with them, then you can use the other players. You can still play like passively with an aggressive brawler. Inherently, Mortis is supposed to be an aggressive brawler, but I can play him as a passive brawler in a specific game mode such as Showdown. Now, if you can use the brawlers to your playstyle, use it to your advantage, that will give you a leg up in game and it will help you immensely. So guys, that's going to be the end of the video. These are some of my tips. I definitely have a few more. So if this video helped you out, make sure to let me know in the comments down below. I would love to make a few more like this. So with that being said, if it did help you out and you did enjoy it, make sure to leave a like on it. Really appreciate it. And with that being said, make sure to keep having fun with Brawl Stars, and we'll see you in the next video. Peace.